Well, it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue shoe.
And country go. All new shows on Spectrum On Air. Visit our website on spectrumonair.com or listen on Mixcloud Live.
Don't forget, you can listen to this radio station on the Get Me Radio platform. Download the Get Me Radio app and listen on your Android or Apple mobile phone, and a whole range of TV apps such as Roku, Fire, Android and Apple TV. You can also listen on Alexa and Google Home devices. Just search for Get Me Radio. Download the apps and listen to this radio station on your favorite devices.
Why not come with me, Tony Ingledown, on a journey in my time tunnel? Broadcast every Monday between 2 and 3 p.m. on Spectrum On Air. I'll be taking a trip down memory lane, playing music from the late 60s through to the 80s. Indulge yourself in some nostalgia and let us go back in time together. That's Tony's Time Tunnel every Monday between 2 and 3 p.m. on Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio. I hope that's a date. Don't be late.
Having trouble advertising your act? Need more exposure without breaking the bank? Here at CJC Promotions, we believe that teamwork, bonding and having fun go hand in hand with promoting your work. We believe in artists getting the exposure they deserve without experiencing the stressful side of social media and advertising. With contacts worldwide covering a multidisciplined media environment, we can target your talent so you gain the experience without the consequence of wasted time in unproductive ventures. So, if you are serious about getting your talent out there, just contact Catherine at cjcpromotions.co.uk. That's Catherine at cjcpromotions.co.uk. And remember, our aim is to nurture your talent, not exploit it.
You are listening to Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Grumpies On Spec. Of course, we only do Saturdays, so it's a silly statement really to start with. However, where is my little piece of paper which tells me that I have to give out this warning? It's around there somewhere. There it is. Yes, it's a disclaimer really, because it's a warning that this show contains free speech from the presenters, which may upset or offend. And in fact, we hope it jolly well does, because otherwise it wouldn't be much of a show, would it? But good morning, men.
Good morning, Mr. Barry.
Good morning.
Morning, Chris. Morning, Alan.
You see, one of them has the civility to say Mr. Barry, you know, so it's very nice. And I like that sort of thing. That's makes me feel good.
Hacked Barry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right.
Is it all right now, is it?
Sorry?
Is it all right?
Yeah, it could be all right. I don't know.
I had another email on my other email address, my Gmail address, and it was from you, purported to be from you, but it was a different message than one before.
Yeah?
I was going to send it on, but I didn't. I got rid of it. Because when I looked at the date, it was dated the same date.
Yeah. Mm.
So, did you
best to get rid of them and not to play around with them.
Indeed.
Right, now then, I suppose we could really talk about this general fiasco that happened on Thursday and Friday. There's no other word for it, really, is there?
Yeah, it's a shame it was only one by-election, wasn't it?
Well, no.
Don't you think so?
No, because it's... I mean,
the stability of the country is so important. And you know, it would have just created social unrest throughout the entire empire.
Who said that?
Alan Mallion.
Oh, Liebe Damp extraordinaire. Next Prime
Chris.
Minister.
Chris, what do you think about it? I mean,
Well, do you know, to be honest, until you mentioned it, I've forgotten about it. And I don't even know what the final results were, although I believe that Reform did rather well.
Run called they won by 6 votes. There was a recount.
Yeah, I did hear about that one.
But as we said off air,
what's his name? Farage was milking it, wasn't it, that he won by 6 votes? But there we go.
As we said off air just now, the story is that they got 12,000 votes, which were 12,000 votes they took off Labour. That is a big story, I think.
That is a big story.
And this is what I'm afraid happens when your MP goes and thumps a constituent and gets let off. But there we go. Last time I heard, they won. They got 10 mayor elections last night. I don't know how many they've got now.
No, did they?
Do we know anybody?
Well, Alan knows because he's a political pundit.
No, I don't actually.
They got Cambridge. They won that. They got Hull. They got Kent. Can't think of the others, but it was 10 by about 11 o'clock last night.
I
think
it's very naughty of me, especially knowing I was coming on this show, to not know the results, because it's the obvious thing to discuss, isn't it? But,
of course it is. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what the results are.
You could ask Alexa.
Well, I don't have Alexa, as you know.
Yes, Alexa. How many?
We can have some information, right? And I think the one is the changing councillors. Right? Yeah. That's the one that I think is the most revealing. Right? And the Conservatives lost 635 councillors. Labour lost 198 councillors.
Wow. So it'll be more than that.
Right? The Lib Dems gained 146 councillors. The Greens gained 41 councillors. Reform gained 648 councillors. That's a lot.
There's a message there.
That is a lot.
There's a message there.
That basically means that pretty well every Conservative councillor was replaced by a Reform councillor.
Yeah. That is absolutely right. I'm looking at it now. 677 councillors Reform got.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got 648 different figures.
Right. This is
the Guardian website. So
I'm on the BBC.
That's probably
we're going to believe that then, Chris.
I still, believe it or not, I still trust the BBC.
Yeah, me too. I trust the BBC.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Certain things, maybe. Yeah.
I don't.
No, not for most things.
We get the weather forecast wrong. They get the political data wrong. They're biased.
They don't. They get everything right, Mike. You should know that.
Yeah. I don't.
I mean, if it wasn't for the BBC, we would be living in a land of ignorance.
We are.
Well, we're getting that way, aren't we?
No, we're so well informed by our political leaders.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Oh, listen.
Oh, by the way, yesterday, Chopper, as they called him on GB News, said to Starmer, Kimmy Badenoch's accused you of being a coward for not attending the by-election. Are you a coward, Prime Minister? And he said, the results were a little disappointing. That was his answer. They never mentioned the fact, why is he a coward, you know?
Yeah.
I think he is. He doesn't turn up.
But when does a politician ever answer a direct question with a direct answer?
This bloke's worse, though, isn't he? He just waffles for about 10 minutes.
No. They answer on Wednesday afternoon about 3 o'clock. All right, that's the time to ask them, because they always tell the truth about 3 o'clock on Wednesday.
Do they really?
For 2 minutes. Oh. But if you miss that opportunity, you're not going to get the truth.
Right, he was in Luton yesterday, Chris. Herr Starmer was in Luton yesterday.
Oh, what a shame!
Yeah, he said he was going to pop down the cab to see if you were about, but you weren't. So he was rather disappointed.
Well, seeing as I have no ties left in Luton, he can go where he likes.
Yeah. Where was that military place in Bedfordshire then, Mike? Do you think where he was?
I don't know.
Yesterday morning.
I don't know.
No, not me.
Oh, it was probably hunting engineering.
Oh,
or something.
yeah, I did think that, but they wouldn't have military there, would they?
Well, they deal with missiles and things, So
yeah, I thought as my initial reaction, it might have been huntings.
Well, I don't know.
It's not
anyway,
hunting
I mean,
anymore,
the thing that tickled me actually was the fact, that you got Sir Keir Starmer walking around with a sour face on. You've got Nigel Farage walking around like the cat got the cream. You've got Sir Ed Davey dishing out ice cream somewhere.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, good already.
Oh, he likes doing that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, blimey, O'Reilly. I mean, I'd have thought, come on, mate. I mean, this is serious business.
That's the way he works.
And you're handing an ice cream to a bloke and saying to him, "Do you want hundreds of thousands on it?"
Well, the thing is, they're not allowed to pick up and kiss babies anymore, are they?
No.
Why? Accused of being a paedophile, are they?
No, because of the fear of transmission of diseases and all that good stuff. Health and safety.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know the majority of babies get infected by their grandparents?
No.
Well, let's move on the subject a little bit.
There's a thing, isn't there?
Yeah. That's where they get, cold sores and herpes from their grandparents.
I want to talk about Anne Widdecombe because she was interviewed last night. And
was she? I'll get her emails.
Yeah, it was quite funny because, I mean, she was saying, if you vote for reform, you'll get reform. Yeah. And I thought that was a very, very astute statement, really.
Oh, dear Lord, she's so on it.
Well, I mean, we got a little story about Anne Widdecombe, really, and Sky. I mean,
yeah, have you got that? Because I've lost it.
Oh, you lost it?
Yeah, I've got it somewhere on emails. Why haven't you got it?
No.
Oh.
I was leaving it to you, but I mean, all right.
I'll try and find it.
Summing it up, I would Anne Widdecombe has a little bit of a problem with Sky, you see. So she phones them up and says, I'm not getting reception. So they said, well, not surprising, really, because you live
edge of Dartmoor.
Yeah, on the edge of Dartmoor and that. And I mean, she hasn't got any anything close to her or anything like that at all.
No buildings, no trees quite close to her.
Well, she needs Starlink then if she's got a bad connection.
Yeah, but that's not the story, Chris. Have you got it, Mike? You want me to find it?
No.
Anyway, while we're doing that, so all the power lines down in Portugal.
Yeah,
that's the story.
That was fun. No one knew what the heck was going on.
Yeah, tell us about it, Chris.
Well,
it was. I believe it was all caused by a pigeon. So this pigeon, he had a little bit of a shortcoming, and he did a little whoopsie on one of the stations. One of the power station substations, which caused a little spark to jump across a circuit breaker. And then the domino effect started. One circuit breaker went, the next circuit breaker went, and all of a sudden, like dominoes all over sort of southern Europe, power stations went out. There are other people that think it was a cyber attack.
Well, I think it was a cyber.
I'm sticking with my pigeon attack.
Right, well, I think it was a cyber attack. I think they were testing out the vulnerabilities of the European electrical system, and they thought they'd go for the soft touch down in the Iberian Peninsula and just touch Spain and Andorra, France and Andorra as well, just to make it interesting.
Oh, Andorra got it as well, did it?
Yeah, well, Andorra's an enclave, isn't it, in the Pyrenees? And it's just it relies on its electricity from somewhere else.
Yeah, I was going to
go Portugal produces 84% of its own electricity, and it's from renewable sources. So I find it gobsmacking that the entire country can be taken out, and Spain, by one anomalous event, is what they are calling it on the radio stations.
Well, that's the pigeon, mate.
The thing is, if you knock it out, how do you get it back? How do they get it back?
Well, they got it back very, very slowly. So I'd actually gone shopping in the morning, and I'd managed to successfully complete my shopping, and I've
got it, Mike.
All right.
I managed to get home, and there was a power cut at home. So I texted my brother and said, right, I'm going out again. There's a power cut at home. Can't do anything at home. Went through another little town to go and do something else, and all the traffic lights were out. and
Yeah,
that was causing chaos.
I think the thing that takes time for it to get back, if the little I know about such things is that if a substation goes down, then they have to shut the substation down, and then they have to start it, but one circuit at a time.
Well, I think that's what they actually did, because they started. Because also I did notice we got a small wind farm on the hills above us, and they were not turning, and it was a windy day, so clearly they had shut them down as well.
Yeah,
and I think they restarted everything very, very slowly, starting in the centre of Portugal. I heard that some people were coming on at around about 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Faro was on at 10:30. We came on at midnight, and over on the west coast they came on at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, if they just flick the whole thing back on again,
so they just very gradually pulled it back on again.
Yeah, if you turn it back on again in one go, you'd get surges, and it would just cause more problems.
Apparently, there was an outage in Manchester as well, but we didn't hear much about that. I don't know what.
Well, that's only Manchester, though, isn't it? It's not the whole country.
Well, did you lose anything in the freezer or anything, Chris?
Sorry?
Did you lose anything in the freezer or anything?
No, we were out for 12 and a half hours, but I've got a good enough freezer that it'll keep everything okay for around about 24 hours.
Oh, that's good.
Before I start to have to worry about it.
Yeah. Right, we're talking about...
Also, the freezer is full, and it's always better. The fuller it is, the longer it's going to last.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mine's always full.
We've got to say good morning to Brisbane Girl this morning. Good morning.
Hi, Brisbane Girl.
Yeah, nice to have you on board this morning, and no doubt Darren's hiding around in the bushes somewhere there. But of course, it's a big day in Australia, isn't it? Because you've got some federal elections, haven't you?
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure what that actually means, whether... Well, they're going to...
Local elections, aren't they? Sort of county?
Well, I think they're national type elections, aren't they? Because they're going to vote the government back in or out.
Oh.
Elections going on all over the place, aren't there?
They're not very happy there, are they?
Australia.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, listen, we've got a lovely little story here from Anne Widdicombe, really.
Yeah. Anne Widdicombe, she lives on the edge of Dartmoor, as we said, and she got... there was a tremendous storm in where she lives. It knocked out her Sky dish. So she contacted Sky, and a guy came round, an engineer came round, quickly got system up and running. And the next thing she got was a text from Sky saying they'd cancelled the visit because she had told the engineer she was unhappy with the dish and cables. Then before she could work out that one, came another text saying I could not have Sky at my address because of the buildings. Well, she says there are buildings on Dartmoor, but you can't see them from my house. Then I got another text saying I could not have Sky at my address because of the trees. Many is the tree around here, but none is anywhere near my Sky dish, which has been there for 13 years. She says Alice in Wonderland had nothing to do with this rot. So at this point, she says she rung Sky before they could tell me there was sheep, pony, cow, Tyrannosaurus Rex blocking her access. I wanted to stop the flow of nonsense, but also to make sure that the engineer was going to be paid in view of their stating that the visit had been cancelled instead of most satisfactorily concluded. When I finally located a human being, I got a lot of sense, but he could not explain the daft texts. She's saying if big organisations want to replace human contact with text, they should at least make sure that the texts are relevant and accurate. I honestly believe that in a decade or so, bright spark in marketing would say this to his managing director. Why don't we become the only ones offering a human, and they will begin to reinvent the wheel? Quite right, eh?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and you're on it.
But it's the same. We're getting the same from the NHS. We're getting letters arriving after the appointments that are written a full month or 5 weeks before. Frances was due an appointment this week with the oncologist. She cancelled that because she knew she wouldn't make it because of the operation. And then what did she get? A call from the hospital saying, "Oh, you've got an appointment. We need to cancel it." Yeah. Because the oncologist is not available. I mean, it's these little silly things that they've got to sort out, and then it might run a little bit more efficiently, mightn't it?
Well, they tried
to replace. They've tried to replace people with computers and artificial intelligence and all that good stuff, and it goes wrong. It doesn't work sometimes. And there's nobody there to go, that's a stupid thing. That's silly. That doesn't make any sense. We're posting a letter out that's a month overdue. All those things you've mentioned. And there's no human being involved in the process. Nobody's keeping an eye on it. And that's.
I mean, I don't know a lot about AI or anything like that, or technology or anything. I don't want any sarcastic remarks or comments, thank you. But the thing is, they to my simple little brain, they can build in programs to say, like you said, Alan, they want to send out a letter which is a month out of date. Well, don't do it. I mean, it's not rocket science, is it?
No.
Well, actually, it is. That's the problem. These systems get so complex that the system on top of system on top of system, there's layers of it. And there is no one magic bullet that you can do. It's like the NHS, something I do know a bit about, which is the NHS technology. It is so unbelievably complex. I mean, some hospitals have 200 systems in them that all need to be connected into, to GP surgeries and
they don't connect to GP surgeries. This is half the problem, isn't it?
Well, some of them do and some of them don't, which is also part of the problem. Some places you have wonderful connectivity. Other places it's absolutely appalling. Then you've got places like Milton Keynes, which sits somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the GP yesterday, and she hadn't got the notes, hadn't arrived. They're not there. Horizon, the post office, they still use. They just spent another 600 million on it or something, and it's still not working properly.
Well, the Horizon system was set up by a company called Fujitsu.
Oh yes,
and the Fujitsu were given £2.5 billion 25 years ago to help sort out the NHS system, and did nothing. They absolutely did nothing, not a thing. There was no results from that money. It might as well have just been down the drain.
A black hole.
I remember that. I remember that
black hole.
Yeah, it was a project called MP Fit, instigated by Tony Blair.
Yeah. So why do they keep using this company, I wonder?
Because they're very good at bidding for government contracts, because they're tick boxes. You have to tick a box to get a government contract. Well, you have to tick many boxes, and they can tick the boxes. But, and I kid you not, I was working with a company that had solved many of the problems, and they're still going today. It's now a multi-million-pound company. All right, they had sorted out a lot of the problems, and do you know what they were told? The reason why you didn't get the contract, even though you understood the technology and had demonstrated you provided the solutions, you're not big enough to sue. That was the answer. That was why they weren't given the contracts in the first place, because you're not big enough to sue.
Meaning what?
I mean, if it goes wrong, all right, if you actually get it wrong, then the government can't sue you because you don't have the resources.
Has the government sued Fujitsu?
Well, Fujitsu are big enough to sue. If the government sue Fujitsu, they can afford to.
Which they should do, but they won't.
Well, they won't. In fact, the exact opposite happened when the government cancelled the contract on Fujitsu, or the MP Fit contract, the National Health Information contract. Fujitsu sued the government for breach of contract.
It's funny, these cases when the government does get sued, you don't hear any more about it, do you? That's all shut up, isn't it? All court.
Yeah, that all gets very, 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 very cleverly sort of brushed.
Talking of which, talking of law, I think these cases with the rape gangs, the judges, it's up to the judges whether the court transcripts are released or not. But one of the victims, she wanted a transcript of her case, and they said yes, you could have it. It was going to cost £15,000. Now, this is absurd. I mean, do we think these cases, these files should be in the open domain? Anybody should have access to them.
Unless it's a matter of national security.
That's different.
There is occasions when information needs to be kept private because of confidentiality, particularly where, a crime has been committed and the person that is actually the victim feels vulnerable as a result of information being disclosed. So there needs to be somebody that has an oversight on that. I mean, there's been a very recent case where a girl had gone to court because she'd been abused by her boyfriend and her ex-husband and all sorts of things going on. And then they published her home address and telephone number and everything.
Yeah. Well, look at the copper. Who shot the, I can't remember his name, the guy in the car, who's now on this disciplinary thing and he could be sacked from his job. He's cleared in court, but they named him.
Yeah.
They named him in court, and then he's getting threats, isn't he? There's apparently a price on his head, isn't there, from the underworld that would have bumped him off.
Which is outrageous. So there's a time for confidentiality and there's a time for I don't know, being transparent.
In these cases, they should be transparent. There's no reason for it other than government saying, "Oh no."
Well, you got that situation where Trump demanded that all the Kennedy files.
Great man.
Yeah, great man. He demanded all the files related to Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah, that is all redacted.
All right. And no, well, everything was already public, but it was redacted, and he wanted the unredacted versions to be publicised, which they were, and now is facing hundreds of different court cases because the redactions were people's social security numbers, private addresses, and a load of private information. Another one of Trump's gross pieces of stupidity.
He's done a great job. Great job.
Yeah, but we could do 15 shows on just listing all the things that he's got wrong. By the way, just for your information, there's the National Grid have got a map of likely power cuts, and it's Manchester's not on it actually, but Sheffield is, Nottingham is, Birmingham is, Cheltenham and Plymouth, and all down that bit of the country, that sort of like West Central bit and South Wales are all at risk at the moment of power cuts.
Well, if Cheltenham's at a risk of a power cut, I hope GCHQ has got a backup system.
I imagine they went down to the co-op and got some batteries this morning.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I'm pleased to hear that.
I've got some batteries from Amazon, their own brand. They're bloody awful. They don't last 5 minutes.
I only ever buy Duracell. I trust Duracell.
Oh dear.
Well, it's called Duracell because they're durable, and in my experience, they are.
I normally buy them in Costco, funny enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I get them in Costco.
I've got a different philosophy. I buy Kodak, which are as cheap as chips.
So do I.
Right, and
it's still going on,
they are a quarter the price of a Duracell.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's not I can buy 4 Kodak batteries for 1 Duracell battery.
Well, where'd you get these from, Alan?
Poundland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you could get like off. I'd say a quarter of the price. That they're a tenth of the price.
Yeah. The reason is a second hand.
Second hand batteries. That's a good one. But they yeah. So I can put 4 or 5 batteries in for 1 Duracell battery. The only thing it irritates me a bit is my doorbell. Because actually they don't last that long, and I can't hear the doorbell if it's not working, if that makes any sense.
No? Nobody ringing my bell?
Ring my bell.
Well, you ring my bell every morning.
And I've had Duracells in my doorbell for 2 years now, and they're still going strong.
Really?
Oh well,
but nobody rings your doorbell.
They do. We get so many Amazon deliveries, it gets rung almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am saying that the Kodak ones last at least a year.
Talking of energy, there's a story that I got from one of our listeners, Richard, up in Leeds. He was telling me about a friend's house, the bedroom in one of his friend's houses caught fire, and they initially didn't know what it caused it. Apparently, the owner's wife had a vanity mirror on her dressing table, and it reflected the sun during the day onto the curtains. It caught the curtains alight.
Yeah.
So I'm warning people, don't put your vanity mirrors where they can be hit by the sun.
Well, interestingly, I was told something this week And you know that Portugal is well known for its wildfires, and we will be on wildfire watch coming up shortly.
Yeah.
And if you chuck a plastic bottle with a little bit of water left in it, it can act as a prism and cause a fire.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. We've had a big heath fire here, haven't we? Where was that? I'm trying to think. Can't remember where it was now.
Well, we've had more heath fires across the country this year than they've had for yonks, and it's not even in the proper season yet. You know,
a lot of them man-made by putting down
we've had so much rain that we haven't had many. We've had some, but we haven't had many yet.
Well, we haven't had the rain, you see, so we've had an awful lot of heath fires. You know, so
technically, what you said there doesn't make any sense. Acts as a prism.
Well, I might have used the wrong word.
Yeah, just because a prism
it reflects in some way and causes a fire.
It can magnify.
That's what it does.
Prism's the opposite to magnifying.
Yeah, well, I've probably used the wrong, or someone used the wrong word to me, and I've repeated it.
And well, I'm just being a complete
fake news.
You're just being cantankerous, aren't you?
I'm cantankerous this morning. I tell you what we used to do though. When I was in the Boy Scouts, we used to have to light a fire with a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done it when I was a kid as well.
Yeah, Boy Scouts used to use magnifying glass for someone else as well, didn't they?
Hold out your hand, wouldn't it? And you burn your hand with a magnifier.
Yeah.
Do you remember those electric shock machines kids had?
Yeah, they call them tasers now.
Yeah. God, do you remember that? You should hold this. Yeah. Homemade.
I remember doing it on electric fences.
Really?
Yeah, I used to touch an electric fence. Just to get a little bolt of electricity.
I suppose you did tube lines as well, did you?
I mean, these were animal fences, so the voltage going through was very low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had, of course, a step over one actually last weekend, and that brought a little smile to my face.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It gives you a little tinkle, doesn't it?
It gave me a little tinkle.
Yeah.
I was walking past. I was out walking with GT, and we walked past a field with a load of pigs in it. And it had an electrical fence underneath the main fence, and he put his nose through it and touched the electric fence, and he went squealing down the path.
I bet, yes. You shouldn't have laughed, poor GT.
I did laugh.
Their noses are important.
I mean, that's not funny, you know. I mean, poor old GT there. I mean.
You've got to remember, it's a little wet nose as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
All dogs have wet noses, don't they? Because that's how they sweat and that.
Yeah, but
it's a sign of health as well.
Yeah, if their noses are dry, they're not well, are they?
No. I've got a wet nose at the moment, but that's because of the hay fever, you know, so...
so when are these power cuts on this map you put online, Alan?
I don't know. It just I typed in power cuts Great Britain and it came up with that.
Well, you got Northampton come on there.
Oh,
you have got Cheltenham on there.
Right. So we could be in serious trouble. Perhaps we're being cyber attacked ourselves.
Well,
let's face it. Marks and Spencer, the Co-op, Harrods. Now this is all. They reckon now that it's from Russia, don't they?
Well,
something Spider is the name of the place.
Yeah, ransomware or something it's called.
It's a Russian criminal gang.
Yeah.
Trying to extort money.
Oh, it is that, isn't it?
It will be Russia or Belarus or somewhere around there.
Yeah, I don't think
they're very clever up there.
They've got nothing better to do, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good money making scam.
No kidding. Look at North Korea. They've got a whole unit, haven't they? Tens of thousands of people that are doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
Taking money out of people's bank accounts and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky because I've got any
talking
money.
About North Korea, have you seen that they're now building a bridge to Russia over some river?
Oh, they're opening up to tourism as well, aren't they?
I did hear that. Yeah, that'd be very controlled, won't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to go there on holiday.
No, I wouldn't want to go there.
I was very surprised that some of the Arab countries are doing so well, like Dubai. It's become such a tourist centre. I think it'd be the last place I'd want to go.
Dubai, why?
Well, you kiss your girl on the beach and you end up 3 months in prison.
Or have a drink.
Well, that's it. I mean, you walk down
have a drink, but only in hotel bars.
Hotels, yeah, that's right.
You walk down the front, and you got your hands in your pockets, and
Yeah, don't let Prince Andrew near the place.
But talking about Marks and Spencers and that, I mean, or Marks and Spencer, I mean, they're losing millions every day.
Yeah,
I mean, but the trouble is, who's going to pay for that? Us.
sure.
Because if and when it's sorted, I mean, that revenue has to be recouped, doesn't it?
Can they will be insured for that sort of thing?
You can get insurance. It's very expensive insurance.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is everybody's wrong. I talked to somebody who's a real expert on it very recently.
Talk to yourself again, will you?
And
Close.
Basically, the view is that everybody is vulnerable. You just got to be alert. And companies need to update their systems absolutely every day. They need teams of people. And there's another thing that they do, which I think is quite an interesting thing, that different companies have teams within that company, and that team will go and try and hack somebody else's system. And, so Marks and Spencer's will try and hack B&Q's system, and B&Q will try and hack Marks and Spencer's system. They know it's happening. But it's an internal competition to test for vulnerabilities. There's such a lot going on in the background that we don't know about.
But if you've got all these people...
That's quite, I mean, if they're working together to do that, I think that's a great idea.
They do.
Well, there's also a national defence team of private individuals that are very high level, penetration testers and all that sort of good stuff. That's an official title, penetration tester.
Whoa. That's okay until they go ape, isn't it? And,
but they're also that's the word. It's not conscripted, but they work with government agencies. And if there's a national emergency, their expertise is called on, even though they work in the private sector. There's a lot goes on in the background.
We should add on GB News some computer company. It's John, and there's all these different people. John, okay, John, have a coffee, John? Yes, thanks, John. And it's all this one bloke, and this company's not only John. There are other people. It's quite good actually. It's very clever. Except I can't remember the name of the company.
But
it's John something.
When it comes to a cyber attack. Don't think for one moment that those people down in GCHQ don't have plans to attack just about everything, everywhere on the planet.
Oh, I'm sure they have, and I'm sure they do.
And there is a nuclear option, if you like, to attack all sorts of things. We don't know about it. We don't know any details about it. We'll never know any details about it.
There'll be another team doing exactly the same in the Pentagon as well.
Yeah. And also,
Mr. Barry, kind of get worded edgeways.
And we also work alongside the Pentagon on such things, which is, is the area that
this is Five Eyes.
Careful, does Mr. Trump know that?
Don't tell him whatever.
This is Five Eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, don't tell him that we went out. The RAF went out with the American forces to bomb the Houthis.
They did, yeah, they did.
Don't let him know that, and don't let DJ Vance know that, because we haven't been, we haven't known conflict since WW2 called DJ Vance. I mean, that guy is thicker than
JD,
a builder's plank.
No, not GD.
JD Vance, but he can't get things right,
I can't. I am dyslexic.
He has a muddled brain.
Jumbled up.
He's a great man, though. He's a great man.
Great man.
He's a great man.
He does a great job. Great job.
Talking about across the pond, do you think what's the views on Ukraine and selling all their rights off and that to Trump? Do you think anybody's won in that situation or what?
No.
Yes, the Ukrainians have won.
Yeah, Trump's won. How have the Ukrainians won?
Well, but they now have America a bit back on their side.
Yeah, indeed.
If that deal had not been done. All right, and it had soured the relationship between Ukraine and America. That would have been really made it very difficult for the Ukrainians to carry on fighting.
Well,
they've got a chance of being stronger in the negotiating room, and militarily they're stronger as well. So it's a win-win all round. America wins, Europe wins, Ukraine wins.
You're talking a load of rubbish again, Malian. Because Trump's all nice with Zelensky now. But he's only got to get out of bed the wrong side tomorrow and say no, it's not. We're turning that.
Yeah, things could change, but I'm just commenting on the current position. It is a good deal for everybody.
Well, you don't want to comment on the current situation. You want to see the future.
Yeah,
this is what this show is all about.
In Mike Barry's imaginary world, where everything is the negative, where all glasses are half empty.
No, they're not.
I think at the end of the day, Trump got what he wanted before he was even elected. Yeah. He wanted Ukraine's minerals. He basically dissed Ukraine until he got that deal.
Yeah.
And now he will back him.
Yeah, it's his companies, and he's making millions.
Yeah, of course he is.
He's going to be a very rich man. Very rich man.
It's like the millions he made when he trashed the economy with those tariffs to start with.
Yeah, right. Indeed.
Do they call it selling short or something?
Yeah.
Oh, the insider trading that went on that week was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he's a good man, Chris. Good man.
He's a good man. Darren says that they've got emails at work pretending to be phishing emails to see if they click on them. Yeah. That's
good. Yeah.
Well, this is it. We've got a thing in this country called report phishing, and it's a government department, and I'm sending off probably 2 or 3 a week to them. I don't open the email; I just forward it straight to them. And this is emails purporting to come from BT or that sort of thing.
It's J.R. Hartley.
Yeah,
J.R. Hartley.
I do. I get a lot of emails that come through to my email address are picked up by my internet service provider, and I never even see them.
Yeah,
they're marked as spam straight away.
I get phone calls.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying the same thing. It's come up as spam email, or not spam, but hacking. What did it say? I can't remember what the wording was, but it came up on my phone. This phone rang a few times, then stops, and it's this hacking email. What's it called, Mike? Reporting phishing?
Just report phishing.
PH, is that?
Yeah, PH. Yeah. Just type that in, and up it comes with the government department.
I'll get about 1,000 a week scam emails.
1,000?
Yeah, 1,000. I never get to see them. They are blocked. I can.
How do you know you got 1,000?
Yeah, how do you know?
It tells me.
You're just sitting there exaggerating.
You can find out, because if I go onto my email provider and look at my account on the webmail, then they're all there, and it tells me how many it's blocked, but they never come down to my Outlook account on my computer.
Exactly the same.
How'd you get to that then, Chris? How do you find that?
Well, I use a company called Easily, and I just go into the portal there, and I can, because sometimes people say check your spam folder. So sometimes I have to go on there to check my spam folder. Well, my spam folder is not on my computer. My spam folder is at my email provider. So I have to log into my account there.
Domain names, aren't they, usually?
Yeah, it also includes people that I blocked, because every time I get an email that I think is just slightly dodgy in any way, shape or thing, I put it into my blocks list. I block it.
Oh, so why you blocked me?
So I got a list of blocked, people. There's probably about 200 people on my block list, if not more.
Me, Bob, yeah. You and me, mate.
You've got a lot of enemies, Alan. Load of enemies.
I've got very public email addresses, from business, from politics, from filmmaking. And I've got 5 different email addresses that all end up in the same box, because I can't be bothered to look at different boxes. That's why I get so many. Why I've got so many emails. It's just email management is a real issue.
Yeah, I'm getting about 250 a day now. I mean, before the show this morning, I had just within 10 minutes about 25 emails.
Mine have considerably reduced since I set a load of rules, and it makes my email much more manageable.
What rules did you set, Chris?
Well, I tell my Outlook that send anything from here to there. If something's got spam in the address, then send it to my junk folder. I never want to see it. Right. If I've got stuff coming in from certain companies I don't want to deal with.
You've only got to drill down and look at the rules of internet.
Yeah, you can set rules within your email. Yeah. Well, if you're using Outlook, you can anyway, and I use Outlook.
I use Outlook, yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because when Bob asked me if I'd got the email about Anne Widdecombe, so I went and looked and I couldn't find it. So I thought, well, I might have put it into my junk mail or trash. And when I went in there, and then just very quickly scrolling through, but I discovered I'd been sent the minutes of a town lands charity of which I'm the chairman. We just had our email. We just had our AGM. And the minutes of the AGM had gone in my junk mail, and if I'd have just deleted all that lot, I'd never have seen it. So, I mean, that's the person that regularly contacts me on my normal email address,
Yeah, I've had the same.
Yeah?
No, I don't get the same minutes.
No. Well, you should do, maybe,
just, similar things, yeah.
You just never know, so... so I was just reading Darren's email there, but we've read it out,
Yeah.
And now then, it's let's have a look and see, because we've got all sorts of things. Oh no, I've got to go now.
What about this Greensford girl? What do you make of this then? That she's apparently committed suicide now in Australia, in Perth, and her father doesn't believe that at all. He thinks that she's been done in, I think. All a bit weird, that, isn't it?
It's slightly weird, isn't it?
I mean, particularly over this alleged accident where the car was hit by a bus, and she was shown in hospital all these facial injuries, and the police report that nobody was injured in the incident. And all it did was broke a tail light of the car.
It's all very, very strange, that story.
And she got several million, about $12 million US dollars, Australian dollars, I think, out of Prince Andrew, didn't she? Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Oh, so
that's brought me nicely, really, onto Prince Andrew himself.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, all right, the bloke, he hasn't been, what would one say, the politest of gentlemen and that sort of thing, but not to put too fine a point on it. But don't you think it's time that we just sort of buried the hatchet and said, look, okay, fine, let's not punish the guy anymore. Let's let him get on with his life.
Yeah, well, no, because he's making a rod for his own back, isn't he? I mean, he came on TV yesterday and he's saying about, he wants to bury it and all the rest of it.
No, I'm not.
We're talking about
Andrew. Sorry,
not Harry. We'll come to Harry in a minute, but Andrew. I think it's about time we just sort of drew a line under it all and said, right, not necessarily give him back everything, but
I think the problem is, Mike, that it's if he'd have turned around and said I'd made a mistake and had some sort of remorse about it all and said, yes, it was really silly of me to go dating, particularly as a married man, go out dating, young girls.
He's not married, is he?
He was at the time.
Was he?
No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
No, he was.
Oh, okay. Wasn't he?
They live together, but they're not married, are they? Anymore?
Okay. They still live together.
Yeah.
So however you want to cut it, if he'd have just had a bit of remorse and just said, sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and clearly that was a mistake, instead of going, I don't sweat.
Yeah, but this all goes back to his arrogance, isn't it? He's very arrogant. He's a bit like his father, isn't he, in that respect?
Yeah, so, I don't feel quite so forgiving. I don't think it's a big deal either.
No.
I don't think what he done was a most horrendous crime. He didn't sexually assault children or something, He went out with a girl that was a bit on the young side, but it was not illegal.
Was this in this country or was it there?
It was in this country.
So he wasn't committing an offence, was he?
He was not committing an offence, but there was no law that he broke in England, but it is regarded in other parts of the world.
But that interview was a bit bizarre, wasn't it? Really?
Well,
that was a strange interview.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think the BBC should have actually done it and should have aired it. They should have gone, nah, this is like, we're just.
It's a world of make believe, isn't it?
I mean, when he started saying, well, it wasn't me because I don't sweat, you're going, really?
Yeah.
You absolute dick. And he was being a complete dick. So I'm not quite with you, Mike. I just think it just needs to be ignored.
Well, no, I think he should be given the opportunity to come back into the firm, as a junior office boy. But I think the bloke's down and we're kicking him still.
You do that to me all the time. Why are you sucking up to the royal family all of a sudden?
Well, because I like kicking you. I get a pleasure out of kicking you in the morning. So
yeah. Tell me about it.
It's sexual abuse, Mike.
I know.
Yeah. What? Yeah, but okay. I don't know. Does he want to come back into the firm?
I really don't know. I mean, he doesn't phone me up and tell me I'll cry on my shoulder or anything, so I don't know. But I mean, you wanted to jump in there about Prince Harry, but I mean, I think Prince Harry should be told to Foxtrot Oscar.
So do I.
Yeah,
absolutely,
totally.
He's his own worst enemy.
I mean, what he said yesterday was,
I mean, he's publicising himself, and this is a guy who doesn't like publicity.
Oh,
yeah.
It's beggars belief. I mean, just go back to bloody California with your stupid trophy wife and leave us alone.
But it's all the time. You open the Telegraph every day. There's something about them. If the media didn't keep doing this, perhaps they fade into the limelight, into the sunset on California's coast or something.
Well, it's money, isn't it?
He was saying yesterday, she's open once again now, isn't he? Because he said yesterday he doesn't know how long his father's got left. It's just
what a statement.
It's just to imply, he's at death's door, which we don't know anything about this.
Well, what a statement to make, eh?
I think that was dreadful, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It just shows the inadequacy of his knowledge or of his sense in trying to communicate, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, has he got mental problems or something?
Well, yes, it's called his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's the driving force behind him. They say that behind every good man is a good woman, but
no,
it's
he's besottled by her. And all this.
This is where I have to disagree.
That's unusual, Alan. Go on.
Well, I just think he's not a bad lad, really. It just what's he arguing about? He's arguing about protection for his family. Well, that's a reasonable thing to argue about.
Why?
No.
Why? Because he's a high profile. He's a prince of the realm.
If he's got enough money, the amount of money they've got, why can't he pay for himself?
Yeah.
Well, he does.
He doesn't. Why does the public?
He doesn't come under the royal protection thing.
Why should he? He's left the firm.
He's not part of it anymore.
He's a prince of the realm who's left the country and doesn't want anything to do with us anymore. So he can go do one, as far as I'm concerned.
Oscars, Mike says, yeah.
Well, I think he does an awful lot of good.
Yeah, Darren's saying Prince Andrew's hardly destitute. He should stay in the background as he's too much of a loose cannon.
I agree with you, Darren.
Absolutely, totally right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Darren loathes him.
The more he loathes him, yeah, indeed.
No, it's like why? It's like it's been decided that Harry's a bad boy, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. The Invictus Games, things like that.
Oh, yeah, but
okay. What's that?
They're commercialising that now, aren't they? Because of her, she turns up and it turns into a fiasco.
I wonder how much they're worth. That family's worth.
Yeah. I don't know, but one thing is absolutely clear.
Netflix paid him 50 million or something, didn't they?
Meghan is not very well liked. You see, people don't like her. I mean, that's as clear as people don't like.
I don't think her father does.
He loathes Prince Harry. Why loathe him? What's he done that's so bad? Well, what's he guilty of?
First of all, he says he's killed for fun almost a load of Taliban, or he thought were Taliban, and he publicised that.
It British soldier killing out. That was his job at the time.
Yeah, but he weren't killing the right people, was he?
Well, wasn't he?
Well, apparently not.
Well,
You don't go and boast.
Typical soldiers don't go bragging about how many people they've killed.
Well, you think about all the number of World War II soldiers who've never talked about their never talked. They've gone to the graves without talking about what they've done.
Yeah, Francis's mum did. She did. I think she's in SOE or something to do with SOE during the war, and she would never talk about it. Not a dicky bird.
No.
But no.
And yet the government at the moment is going ahead with this process of charging veterans for murder in Northern Ireland. You know.
Oh.
I mean, I don't understand
that is beyond belief. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the concept of charging somebody about crimes that happened in Northern Ireland 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago even, before the Good Friday Agreement, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think the Good Friday Agreement should have just drawn a line in the sand, like they did in South Africa.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of sand in South Africa, you see. That's why they could draw a line, you know. I mean, you've got the SAS soldiers being done now for Afghanistan. You know, I mean, it's war.
They're doing their job in a war situation.
Yeah.
I mean, why all this persecution business?
It's the Woke Brigade. It's the same people that think we should pay Caribbean countries thousands of millions of pounds.
What
happened 500, 300 years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
To do-gooders.
And that's ridiculous as well. It's all history. It's water under the bridge.
It is water under the bridge.
So many generations have passed since then, and it doesn't happen anymore. So just draw a line under it.
And why aren't they hustling all the Africans that actually captured all these slaves? Why aren't they being prosecuted and having to pay reparations?
Mm.
You know, they made a fortune out of it. The various countries around the world that made absolute fortunes out of slavery. Egyptians, they were the biggest user of slaves. They had whole teams of people that would go out and round up slaves to
There were slaves.
Yeah, they built the pyramids, didn't they? Slaves built the pyramids.
Yeah, there were slaves. That had their own slaves.
People say that, but actually historical evidence seems to prove otherwise. But they did have when there was all this trouble in America with the cotton and the slaves and everything else, there became a national cotton shortage. So Egyptians had to produce more cotton, and they didn't have enough people to do it. So they went out. What did they do? They got slaves.
So why aren't he's on a roll this morning, isn't he, Mike?
Why aren't the Egyptian government being asked for reparations because of what they did? You know, it just seems that we're a Commonwealth country.
Right, gentlemen, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to draw this to a line.
A line in the sand.
A line in the sand, yes. I'm going to give you the opportunity to go away and have yourself another gin and tonic if you're over there.
And do a bit of research about the Egyptian slave trade.
Australia, yeah. And if you're in this country, you might want to get yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, something like that. But we're going to have a short interlude, not very long, but a short interlude where we will be back for the second hour of this morning's Grumpies on Spec. And don't forget, we would love to hear your comments if you want to put comments on. If you go on to Mixcloud and you can put your comments on there on the chat box. But we will be back very, very shortly. So just please don't go away. Stay with us here on Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio.
Why not join us on the Road to Shamrocks, Thursdays at 11 a.m, live with Rosemary, exclusively here on Spectrum on Air. Meet all the acts from the Shamrocks Festival and find out what makes them special, from Lady Gaga to Queen and all genres in between. This show is not to be missed. So, join Rosemary and the festival artists every Thursday live at 11 a.m. here on Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio.
It's Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio.
4 new shows to listen to on Spectrum On Air. Reggae.
Ooh, yeah.
Rock and Roll Jukebox.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue shoe.
And Country Girl. All new shows on Spectrum On Air. Visit our website on spectrumonair.com or listen on Mixcloud Live.
Don't forget, you can listen to this radio station on the Get Me Radio platform. Download the Get Me Radio app and listen on your Android or Apple mobile phone, and a whole range of TV apps such as Roku, Fire, Android and Apple TV. You can also listen on Alexa and Google Home devices. Just search for Get Me Radio. Download the apps and listen to this radio station on your favorite devices.
If you love electronic music, then you need to tune in on Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. with me, Suzanne Letting, on Let's Get It On. Each week, I am going to be bringing you brand new releases. So if that kind of music is your cup of tea, then why don't you join me Saturdays at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Repeated on Mondays at midnight and 1 a.m. and again on Thursdays 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. So grab that cup of tea, that cup of coffee, or even a glass of wine, and let's get lost in some music together on Let's Get It On the radio station that brings colour to the airwaves, Spectrum On Air.
New smart apps with our advanced ways for viewing. XP TV One. You can now view us on Samsung Galaxy Store, Apple App Store, Google Play, Roku, Samsung Smart TV's App Store, and Apple TV, Huawei, Amazon Fire Stick, and App Store. XP TV One. Tomorrow's TV broadcasting today.
You are listening to Spectrum On Air. The colourful voice of radio.
I'm Barry. I'm Bob Bluffield. I'm Alan Mallion. Together we are the Grumpy Old Men. Every Saturday morning between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Only on Spectrum On Air. Often controversial, sometimes fun, but never dull. The Grumpy Old Men bring you their slant on world events and current affairs. 8 to 10 Saturday mornings. And a very warm welcome back to this morning's show, the Grumpies On Spec. And incidentally, if you missed any of the show, it is being recorded, of course, on YouTube. So if you go onto YouTube, you can listen to the whole show as and when you want. You know, it's a pretty cool service that we offer here on Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio. But a warning that this show contains free speech from the presenters, which may upset or offend. And, well, it's not really intended to, but that's the way life goes, really. Now then, off we jolly well go this morning. It's against the law. And that's Sharon's anger as the marathon lets trans runners race women. And this is, of course, Sharon Davis, the well-known swimmer.
Lady, yes.
You know,
Photographed her.
It's back. Have you really? What, when she was swimming or afterwards?
No, at Chelsea.
Ah, yeah. But, I mean, it's going on and on and on. I thought that the law lords had actually sort of said, you know, no, men are men and women and women are women and all this sort of thing. But now, of course, they're going to go, well, I don't know. Did you watch the marathon last week?
No.
The London Marathon?
No. It's actually the first time I haven't watched it.
Really?
We've got a Milton Keynes half marathon, haven't we, today?
I had something better to do, like go for a hike. So I was doing my own marathon thing.
Go take a hike,
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Milton Keynes half marathon, didn't we? Was it Sunday or Monday?
And why was the London Marathon held on the same day as, why was the Manchester Marathon held on the same day as the London Marathon? That didn't make sense to me.
I didn't know.
Well,
There were marathons all over the country. It just wasn't Manchester. There was half.
Yeah, but Manchester was the one that were publicised.
Yeah,
they publicised it quite heavily.
Yeah. But
I thought that was
heard it.
strange because I thought that some competitors would have liked to have done both.
Well, I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's this north-side divide. Why should everything happen in London? Why shouldn't Manchester be the main marathon?
Well, I'm not saying that Manchester shouldn't have a marathon, but why have it on the same day? That doesn't make sense.
No, I can't help but agree with that.
Bad planning somewhere.
I want to argue with everything, but I can't help but agree.
But no, the thing is, the London Marathon starts, both marathons start fairly early in the morning, so if you were living in Manchester and wanted to take part in the London Marathon, you'd have to travel down the night before.
And I'm sure many did.
And there might be a train that doesn't operate, or a coach or something, so.
Trains
I think
trains not operate on a weekend. Oh,
when have you heard that one?
Well, I don't know really. I thought I might be wrong, but I mean, you don't talk about hiking, Chris. I reckon that your poor dog, old GT,
he's got short
wakes
legs.
up in the morning, he opens his little eyes, and he thinks to himself, "God, I wonder whether I'm going to get dragged out again for another 150 miles." Because it's all right for you doing your sort of 15 kilometres and all the rest of it, but your little dog, I mean, all right, he's got 4 legs, so you could divide the distance by 4, but it's a long, long way for a poor little old thing like him.
He loves it, and there are smaller dogs. There's a little dog called Scout that joins us. Now, Scout's about 6 kilos compared with GT's 28.
Yeah.
And Scout runs more than GT does on these walks.
Yeah, he's probably trying to run away from GT.
Well, no, he's not.
Isn't that?
But my brother does keep joking about how I'm trying to turn GT into a dachshund.
Yeah. The cats are looking good, Chris.
Sorry?
Did you keep one of those cats in the end?
No, I'm not a cat person, but I'm also I'm not going to see dumped cats.
No, he looked that one you put online looked a bit Siamese.
It was the lightest of the 9 that I found.
Yeah,
and it is a beautiful thing. But my friend Jackie has it.
9 cats, Christ.
Well, we actually worked out there was 2 litters.
Oh, right,
but we didn't know that at the time. There was about a week's difference in age. But they had been dumped, and they'd clearly been dumped. And in the rain, it was horrible.
Yeah, so it seems to me that they weren't actually, as I mentioned to you, were they feral cats? They probably weren't feral cats. They were probably dumped by somebody whose cat was unwantedly pregnant then.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Cat, sir. Yeah.
Especially as there was no sign of a mother.
Yeah.
Normally, if you find a load of feral kittens, there's a mother around somewhere.
Yeah. Funny.
One of my friends found a litter of 4 last year, and on that occasion the mother was around, but the mother was dead. It had been hit by a car.
That
was a different scenario.
I clicked on one of these elephant things on Facebook. Now I'm getting loads and loads of elephant films, all these little baby elephants on these wildlife sanctuaries in Africa. It's quite amazing watching them, some of them.
Does that come through as a trunk call then?
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, talking about cats, let's bring it home to Downing Street, because Downing Street has been torn apart by feuding felines.
Yeah.
Red Flag reveals that Prince, who's a rare breed Siberian kitten worth £1,500 that the Prime Minister gave to his children last year, has to be protected from Larry, the veteran mouser who has lived in number 10 since David Cameron when he was Prime Minister. Such is the fear for Larry that when the Starmers spend the weekend at Chequers, they feel obliged to take Prince and their other cat Jojo with them at taxpayers' expense in a chauffeur-driven special protection vehicle.
Yeah.
Bob Ashcroft writes in Red Flag, which is the Conservative magazine, that this makes them the best guarded animals in Britain. He writes, one source claims that Prince is not allowed out of the Starmer's Downing Street flat, or else Larry, who can be aggressive,
Larry's a bruiser.
Beat him.
Larry's
protecting his domain, isn't he?
Yeah, he saw off a fox.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, why shouldn't he pay for his own protection?
Well,
that's the point.
Come on, go on.
Don't tell Harry this.
We can't have a prince of the realm, not paying for protection, but a cat gets it free. What's all that about?
Don't they get it donated? By one of their providers? You know, the party.
I've got no idea.
The party givers, you know.
But going back to your comment, Mike, about Sharon Davis and this whole identity and gender war at the moment, we skipped past that rather quickly. I'd like to go back to it for a second because I am absolutely infuriated by these people that think that it's okay for a bloke, genetically male, to actually compete in women's sports. I think it's outrageous.
So do I.
Yeah.
Shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all. And I'm absolutely fed up to the teeth with these woke people that are going,
they're talking about why is there's such a multitude of people behind this now? You know, you never used to heard of this years ago, did you? It wasn't even mentioned.
Well, we didn't have trans women in those days, did we?
Well, you had a writer, didn't you? Forgot their name now. You lived in Hong Kong.
Yes, there's always been transvestites, but it never really came up as an issue because I suppose it's women's sports was so it's very under-publicised, particularly things like women's football was very under-publicised back in the day. It's now become mainstream, and so has other mainstream elements of women's sports, which I think is really great. I love women's football particularly. But I don't want to see a bloke playing in the women's team.
No, and it shouldn't happen.
And I think
it's raised its head more recently after Trump's executive order saying there are two genders. So suddenly that's put the shine on it in our country as well.
Yeah, well, hang on. You know, I mean, you made a statement that it's Trump's executive order, but I mean, it's nature's executive order. You know,
well, it is.
Because people were either born as male or they were born as a female.
And let's not forget that the British High Court actually made that determination anyway.
And they have done so as well.
And it's the British High Court that's actually forced the things like the Football Association and the Athletics Associations to go, oh, God, we've got it all wrong. You know?
I mean, how can they get it wrong?
Well, I'll tell you how they got it wrong.
Beggars belief, doesn't it?
Because of the woke brigade. The woke brigade are going, well, if they drop down their testosterone levels through chemicals, then they can be considered as women. Like, really?
No.
You know,
definitely not.
If you're biologically male, you're biologically male. End of.
Yeah.
And I've got no sympathy. I mean, I've got sympathy for somebody who's got gender identity issues. But then, don't go and play a woman's sport.
That's right. It's almost as if it's become a fashion statement. And there's also these people that are cashing in on this, aren't they? Because they couldn't win in their own sport. So therefore, they take part in men's sport. Women's sport. I'm getting mixed up here.
Yeah.
Because they got the extra power.
I think this needs to be transmitted to the Olympic Committee as well because of that.
Don't you think the Olympics has seen its day to some extent?
I think the Olympics has become a bit of a.
It's a political thing. It's a political platform, isn't it?
I'm not.
It's also much more. It's also much more of a commercial platform as well. When we started watching it, it was all.
It's all amateur. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, now it's all elite professionals.
Yeah. I don't watch it anymore. I just can't hack it.
Funny enough, just the other day, I rewatched part of the opening ceremony in London.
What?
Because there was a bit with the Queen and James Bond.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was great. It just turned up on my YouTube feed, and I watched it, and it was absolutely. The Queen's got had a sense of humour.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. I read a book about her, and it said about her sense of humour in that. A lot of it. She played practical.
I absolutely loved that when she and Daniel Craig did that little skit. It was brilliant.
Yeah. One of the joys in life. I apologise for all those people that want to be miserable like Mike Barry this morning, but I want to bring a bit of joy.
Mike's not getting a word in. He's hardly said a word this morning. Come on, Mike. Great guy.
I'm fascinated by the comments coming out on the show this morning.
What's that?
Well, I'm just fascinated by them. I mean, wokeism and all this sort of thing, and males and females, and the Queen, and and that sort of thing. I mean, at least I had the privilege of letting the Queen meet me. So.
Change the subject, but did you see the Elton John?
Yes, that was a very, very, very nice write-up, Mike, which I don't think I saw that 8 years ago, but that was a very nice write-up you had in the local magazine.
I wrote it myself.
What was that in then?
In the phone box.
Oh, it was in there, was it?
Yeah.
Did you see the Elton John concert, Chris?
Sorry?
Did you see the Elton John concert with this female singer?
No.
It was televised last week?
No. I watch very little television, to be honest.
I've not seen it yet. Anyway, moving on.
I like Darren's comments. In hundreds of years' time, if a skeleton is found, it will be of a male or a female. Well, no, it won't, Darren. I'm afraid I've got to argue with you there. It might be a transvestite. In which case, that would confuse the panthenologists or whatever they're called that look at those. Brisbane girl says, I would be very happy if they cancelled the Olympics.
Yeah, me too.
Our beautiful park is going to be destroyed to make room for the stadium.
It's in Australia, isn't it? Coming up.
Our state premier has changed the law to stop this being challenged in the courts. Yeah, this is the trouble, isn't it? I think, as I don't know whether it was Chris mentioned it, it's become very commercial now.
Yeah, it's all about money.
It's all about money. That's
Sport is all about money.
Oh.
Yep. and what isn't all about money, though? I mean, talking about one of the richest men in the world, the headline in one of the national newspapers is "Secrets of Elon's Outlash Mission to Farmer Elon, rather."
Musk.
His outlandish mission is to father 5,000 mini Musks. And in brackets, it's got to seed the earth with brain boxes. Now, apparently
he's already got loads of children, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's only got 15, I think. I mean,
does that mean you'd be able to sort of go on Amazon and get some Elon sperm for your artificial insemination?
Yeah, you could get, if you wanted to get a new baby, you just go on there and you get a baby Elon.
Oh, what a prize.
Huh?
Yeah.
Jay Arthur.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. I mean, the guy, I mean,
14 children.
He's been very lucky in terms. I mean, whether he's sharp or whether he's just lucky, or I think a lot to do with luck. He just picked on a few things that were good, and managed to find some investors. And his SpaceX and Starlink. And
he's a bit of a weirdo, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
allegedly.
He's a clever weirdo.
Yeah. But they don't want to say.
There some clever weirdos.
Yeah, I mean, genius is close to insanity, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. But who was that guy? I'm trying to think of a guy in America, Hughes, wasn't it?
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bit of a fruitcake, but one of the richest. At the time, he was, I think, rated as the richest man in the world.
Yeah, he was.
He was, yeah.
And
he built the Spruce Goose flying boat.
Yeah.
Which only flew once.
Yeah, and he was a maverick in the film industry, wasn't he? At one
time? Yeah. He something to do with he invented the bra or something.
Well, don't think he did that, did he?
He did the Playboy Club, wasn't it?
He did. There was a thing in films where women wore these very pointed bras, and that was a Howard Hughes thing.
Was that in Barbarella?
No, it was 1930s.
The sort of things that Madonna wore.
No, don't worry about it. Move on.
Move on. No, I'm this is a nice subject, really.
Yeah,
especially coming from you,
It wasn't the bra invented by somebody called Titslinger?
Now then, we briefly
like
mentioned it in the top in the first hour of this morning's program, but this copper who was doing his job in London and then shot or what turned out to be not an innocent person, but an unarmed person, but he's been cleared in the High Court of murder. But now the International Police Commission or whatever, the Office of Conduct, etc., they've decided that no, he should be charged with misconduct in the force.
But what's he meant to have done?
Well, this is exactly it, isn't it? I mean, even the police federation say that this is a witch hunt now. But why should they be allowed to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hardly doing any good for the morale of the police force, is it? I mean, they're gonna, how many armed officers are they going to hand in their tickets over this?
Well,
they're all volunteers. They don't get any extra money. What incentive is there for them to do this?
I think they do get extra money, actually.
Well, it said they didn't, yes, and that was a guy who was in the police federation or something.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think.
They do get extra money. If they're armed officers, they get extra money.
Well, that's not what this guy said. Might be worth checking that, Alan.
Well, I obviously don't know, but I mean, the thing is that it's they're highly trained. They are really, really. I mean, they're more trained than a soldier. Soldiers go out and learn how to fire weapons and bits of cardboard and things like that, but they don't. They're not. Well, they're taught in certain circumstances about if the civilians are involved and things like that. But I mean, the police have to react in milliseconds, and it's a case as well of this guy that was shot in Milton Keynes 3 weeks ago. Apparently it's alleged that he phoned the police and said, "There's a bloke running around the station, with a gun."
Yeah, well, it seems to me so. He wanted a confrontation, didn't it?
Well, whatever the circumstances were, I mean, the police get alerted and then out they go. And what are they going to do? Are they going to, especially when they see a guy and all right, he's running with a knife, but he's been on the phone saying there's an armed bloke,
yeah,
or armed with a gun,
yeah.
So, all right, they could see a knife, which I dare say the policeman could see the knife, but how was
he apparently rushed at him? It's a 12-inch blade, I think it was, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and that guy is going to go through the same procedures as this guy in London. He'll be on garden leave for a long time, and then he'll be charged with unlawful killing. Then you go to court, and then he'll be exonerated, and then he'll be kicked out of the police force.
Yeah, I don't get this with the police. I don't get this attitude. There was a case yesterday that came up. There was the story was a black person applied for a job at the police and failed the entrance test or whatever, but was given the job anyway. But as the story evolved, it turned out there was also several white people applied for these police jobs and also failed the test and got taken on. Now, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why are they taking them on if they failed the tests? They're short of manpower. Now they're going to be even less because the Australian police are advertising in this country for our police officers to move to Australia to join the better prospects over there. And then they're trying to drum out the police, those they've got already that are probably decent guys.
Yeah.
I can't see the mentality of it all at the moment.
Well,
I really don't know what's going on in the police. They certainly become political, haven't they?
Well, it was interesting yesterday I went to a cheque presentation for charities that the Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner and the Chief Constable were issuing out cheques to about 40 charities running across Oxfordshire, Buckinghamshire, Berkshire, and that. Now the sum total of this cheques came to roughly. I worked it out roughly somewhere about £500,000.
Where's his money come from?
Right, now this is it. The Chief Constable who gave the opening speech, and it was reconfirmed by the Police and Crime Commissioner when he gave the closing speech, the fact that all of the money that was handed out yesterday, and the hire of the hall and the cost of the sandwiches and tea and coffee and all the rest of it, guess where that money came from?
From the police.
No.
Oh.
It came from the revenue that they get from criminal activity.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All of the funding that we got yesterday came from criminals. Because apparently when they get the proceeds of crime and they catch the criminal, then that proceeds of the crime go into the pot that they can then dish out.
Oh, right. So the charities are benefiting from the proceeds of crime then?
Well, this is it. I mean, it's one way of looking at it. It is one way of looking at it, but I mean,
what's the difference?
I was rather pleased because I thought, well, this isn't coming out of the police budget. It's coming out of crime.
Yeah.
So at least crime is giving something back to the community.
I think that's good. I think that's good.
So do I.
When I used to watch Miami Vice at times years ago, they used to drive around these sort of flash things like Mustangs and Stingrays and all the rest of it. You think, well, hang on, police don't get these cars. But then it turns out they do, because these cars in those days were taken. They were using the cars that they grabbed off criminals.
Yeah.
These high spec cars.
Yeah.
But what about these pieces about this fly tipping thing they're going to bring in now about, they're going to crush their vehicles? And what's crushing their vehicles got to do with fly tipping?
Yeah.
It sounds like a reasonable deterrent.
Mm.
We moan on this show frequently that people don't do things. Politicians don't do things and councils don't do things.
Yeah, it seems
doing something.
It seems a bit strange.
What, to actually have a council do something? Yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah.
Funnily enough, talking about the police and that, the girl, the couple across the road from us, they're both policemen. Oh, she's a trainee detective, but the guy is a detective now, and he did apply to go over to Australia, and was accepted, but he hasn't gone because his wife can't go over there for certain reasons and all the rest of it, But Brisbane girls saying, they offer them $20,000. But they don't give them a minimum time of service in their contract. So a lot of the English coppers are coming across, getting their $20,000, staying there and then coming back. It's and also Darren reckons that if you've got time to look it up, he says that where is it? Musk's father is a strange chap and a prolific fornicator with a number of children.
Oh, yeah, he's frequently on TV. He's frequently on TV.
Look him up, so... Hey, we are bringing some stuff.
He's South African, isn't
he? Is he?
Oh, he's Zimbabwe, I think he is. Yeah, something like that.
I understand he's South African.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a bit of... I didn't think he came across that bad. He didn't come across as eccentric as his son when I've seen him on TV. Yeah. Terry's saying you sent all out your criminals to Australia. It's only right you should send the coppers out there to police them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we should claim reparations from Australia.
Yeah.
Well, we should do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this business of slavery and all that, I mean, it's a mockery, really, because, the do-gooders think that slavery is finished and it doesn't happen anymore, which is a load of rubbish.
More slavery in the world now. I mean, if you want to go on about slavery, look what's happening in China.
Well, look what's happening in
the country.
In Birmingham, in Manchester.
There's certain parts of China where you are forced to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And, if that's not slavery, what is?
No, it's re-education.
Oh, it's re-education. I keep getting that wrong, don't I?
You do get it
Chinese are big friends of mine. Chinese.
So we're friends.
Very, very good people. Friends.
Very good people, yeah. We're very friendly.
Chinese.
We're friendly people, they're friendly people. Are
we living in a world of make-believe?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just looking at Brisbane's girls' comment on there. I've been watching a programme called £10 Poms.
Oh, yeah.
about the people that paid £10 to go to Australia and have a new life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you know, God, there were some horrible Australian people who were the I
didn't like them. Didn't like them.
The people that had been out there for a few generations were very unkind to the people that came out on these £10 pom things.
Yeah, there's a guy that.
Yeah, well, they were all came from the original criminals then, didn't they? So they were nasty people.
Well, there were a lot of religious zealots as well.
Yeah. I had a guy, I mean, he's long gone now. He died in his late 90s. He was one of my photographers years ago, and he went out on the £10 thing. He didn't last very long. He didn't like it. He couldn't stand it. He came back. And that was predominantly because they weren't treated very well when they got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know, from this TV, I don't know if it's a documentary, a mockumentary, or just a story somebody made up, but it seems that they weren't treated very well at all.
No, Brisbane Girl saying that the criminals got here for free. We had law-abiding, and it cost us a fortune to get here. Makes you think, yeah, well, it's migrants, isn't it? They come here free, don't they? Illegal migrants.
You're not going to get a lot of boat people go to Australia from the UK, are you?
Well, it's a long way to go on a boat, isn't it? You know,
a bit of a run on the boat.
Well, they were.
Petrol stations on the way.
There were migrants landing on Australia by boat, yeah, but they were taken off and put onto some island somewhere, weren't they?
No, they weren't. They built, well, yeah, some I think were, but they bought them boats, didn't they? More safer boats, and sent them back to Indonesia.
Was it from Indonesia?
What a good idea. Yeah, mainly.
Yeah. Now, listen, London, you know, is at the epicentre of a knife crime epidemic.
No kidding.
Suffering more attacks than the whole of Germany. It's a harrowing documentary, and it lays bare the shocking scale of the crisis facing Britain. Figures show an escalating number of stabbings involving machetes, kitchen knives and swords in England and Wales. Well, heavens above.
Evans, you say Evans above in Wales?
What is happening to this country?
Well, you hear it on the news every day, don't you? It's really quite frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching one of these, forensic things the other night, and there was a couple of kids. One was 13, I think the other one was 14. They had an online dispute with one of their classmates, one of their schoolmates, because he was 16, so he was a few years older. And they arranged to meet to have a fight. And he said he wasn't going to back down because it would have got him a bad name online, his colleagues. So he turned up to fight these two Herberts. But of course, one of them brought along a kitchen knife and stabbed the other guy to death. And the one who did the actual murder was 14, and he got 8 years. Now, what in hell's name is going on? And they said he would be out in 3, they thought.
Of course he will. I mean, you know, this is the thing that really, really gets up my nose and makes me really, really angry. That, you know, when you hear that, you know, so-and-so murdered somebody and they got 10 years, you know, well, it's not 10 years at all. No. I mean, they're out in about 4, 5 at the maximum, you know, providing they keep their nose clean.
So why give them 10 years?
Exactly.
What is the point of that? I thought murder was mandatory life anyway, but it isn't, is it?
Oh, I can't see the point.
They're now calling life sentences only 14, 15 years, aren't they?
Well, they are. That's all.
Yeah.
It's crackers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we can't use the English language as it stands. And if a guy gets 5 years in prison, 10 years in prison, a life imprisonment, it should mean exactly what the terminology says. Yeah. You've got 5 years. You've got to do 5 years. Turn it around the other way. Instead of giving them time off for good behaviour, give them more time if they misbehave.
Well, they do.
You know, so if they start mucking around and all the rest of it, say, oh, sorry, mate, you got 5 years, but we're increasing that to 6.
Well, that does happen, Mike.
Very, very rarely.
Well, not to my understanding.
Well, you don't have any understanding, you know. And the thing is, what is happening is that's added on. You know, another year is added on to their half-time result. So if they're put in for 5 years, they would have been out in 2.5. But they've been a bit of a naughty boy, so they added another year onto it. So instead of 2.5 years, they get out in 3.5. You know,
So they're still out early.
It's still out early, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
and they're young enough, most of them are young enough to be, resume their criminal lives, aren't they? With gangs and such.
Well,
But you see, you get the older people. There was a guy on this same program, funny enough. He was 58, and he killed this guy and tortured him as well. And he looked like a grandfather, And he said no, he used this guy's credit card, and that's how he got caught. And he said, no, I found it on the road. And he said, I used it because I admit to using it. Anyway, when he looked at this geezer's record, he'd been an armed robber and God knows what. Well, why was he out on the streets for one thing to do another murder? But then he did get a sentence at 58. I think he got 28 years or so. So he's not going to come out, is he?
No.
They'd probably die in prison. But the older lags seem to get longer. The sentences seem to be longer than the youngsters.
Well, this is why I don't want to do anything naughty, because they lock me up for 10 years and that'll be it,
Yeah.
But moving in a slightly off tangent way of this, but it's this business of adolescence, the Netflix drama Adolescence. I still haven't seen it yet, but it's raised concerns about how boys in particular can be negatively influenced by social media and by online personalities who encourage distorted views of what it means to be a man. I mean, I know we talked about this last week, but they're still pushing this this business that teenage boys need male advisors and that,
provided they're the right kind of advisors. I mean, a lot of these scumbags are not, are they? You father.
Yeah, but listen, when we were youngsters, and I know that's a long time ago, but who were our role models?
Our parents.
The police, the teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, you never heard of kids at school kicking teachers and punching teachers and things like that, I mean, you might have heard of teachers punching kids, but
you did.
Yeah.
And getting the cane and all that sort of thing. But this is where Alan gets it all wrong. Cause we brought up now a series of parental thugs, who just let their kids get away with murder. Literally now.
Well, this smacking kids is now raised its ugly head again, isn't it, this week for some reason?
Yeah, well, it's actually been outlawed now in England as well as Scotland and Wales.
Yeah, I disagree.
I think that's a good thing.
No, I disagree totally.
I disagree as well.
I'm not saying you got.
You guys that want to beat kids, that's fine. If you want to, I'm on the other side of the fence on that one. Beating kids is not a good idea.
Shut up a minute. There's this couple, two women debated this on TV this week, and one of them said, because the other one kept butting in like you do, she said, I suppose you're going to come and smack me for this now, and this woman's eyes, and she rolled her eyes, and it just sort of summed it up to me that this ludicrousness, you mustn't punish anybody. And they're saying this business about it didn't do us any harm to be slapped. Well, I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
Well, look how
I don't. It didn't do me any harm.
No, it didn't do me any harm. It didn't do me any good, but it didn't do me any harm.
You can't say that. You cannot say that.
Why can't you say that? We're saying it. Why can't you say it?
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Why doesn't it make any sense?
Because it didn't do me any harm. How do you know it didn't do you any harm?
Well, I think
we're upright citizens.
Yeah, I think we're pretty law-abiding.
Because I think
we don't go knifing people.
We learned our lesson from it.
Yeah. We don't go around stealing. We don't go around, knifing people and things like that.
Yeah, but that might not be the outcome.
But we also learnt respect as well. Kids these days have no respect.
This is the thing: is they got none at all, have they?
No.
Yeah, somebody there's in a sort of guardian type position. He's there to be abused now, isn't it?
Mm.
The amount of abuse that goes on in schools is unbelievable.
Listen. I know I get wound up about it. If a parent taps a kid who's going to put his hand in the fire, I don't.
What?
I don't really have a problem with that.
The
physical abuse that was put out to me as a kid at school was totally unacceptable.
Oh, well, you see, that is evidenced now by the attitude that you've got, you know, and
yeah,
and
It
the way
shapes
you live your life. You know?
attitude. Yeah.
You know, absolutely, 100%. I think it should be outlawed. And you know, if somebody goes to court because they've disciplined their child, well, then the judge should decide whether that's a serious enough offence to be dealt with.
Yeah, but the judges are, look at the judges. They're not
The judges,
pillars of goodness, are they anymore?
Terry says, "Such is life. Life is what you make it." And that's very profound and very true.
Yeah.
Life is what you
Terry's
make it.
like us, the old school.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the old school.
There is. Everything's wrong with the old school.
Oh, rubbish. Get out of here.
I just don't believe that corporal punishment for children is a good idea. And I'm sorry. You're not going to get me to change my mind on that one.
You see,
if you think corporal punishment, if you think beating kids,
you just got a picture up there of a bloke giving a slap bottom to his little child.
Yeah, isn't that wrong? Is that the way an intelligent person deals with a child? Is that brawn over brain?
No.
Well, put it this way: you've only got to look at the youth of today to realise where it's all gone wrong, haven't you?
Yeah. You see, we're not talking about that father. Might not be the father. Might be the next door neighbour.
Could be.
Probably is. Yeah. But I mean, he's not got a fist. He's not going to beat the child. He's going to give him a slap across the backside. I mean, he's even got covering on there, so it's not a bare side.
Yeah. I was going to say that, not bare buttocks.
No. And a couple of taps on the bum like that, and that kid will remember it and maybe not commit the crime that he did to deserve that. I
don't know. A very wise man said to me once, the first time you've hit a kid, the first time you actually use physical violence, you've lost it. You've lost it because it doesn't work.
Depends what you call physical violence. Violence. Slapping a child on the leg with a light hand is not. I wouldn't say that is violence.
No, nor would I.
Me neither.
No.
Okay, well, we all
so this is where the woke brigade get it from.
Where does violence begin?
Well,
what would you say was violence to a child?
When you inflict permanent injury,
violence. That's
like you break somebody's leg or something, or you beat them up, you put them in hospital.
Yeah.
You damage them permanently.
Break their arm or their leg or something. Yeah. That is violence.
Yeah. Okay, would you say that actually making me
through this conversation, you're not going to win with him?
Would you say that making me touch my toes, pulling down my trousers and whacking me with a cane on the butt, would you put that down as violence? No.
Brisbane Girl is saying it's humiliating for the child and that can cause trauma for that child in later years. Well, she's agreeing
absolutely.
with you. She's agreeing with you.
Oh, I totally disagree with her. Brisbane Girl.
Yeah, I tend to.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree as well.
I will agree with
before I discipline you guys.
I will agree with her if it's continued. If that child for little or no reason gets a humiliation all of the time, then yes, that is going to build up to trauma in later life. I mean,
I watched the lady.
I agree with you there.
I watched the lady in the supermarket. It wasn't actually recently. It was about 6 months ago. But she had a little kid there. A little boy, must have been, 4 years old, something like that. And she beat him. She really beat him.
Yeah, that's a different
he was being a pain. He was being a pain. Don't get me wrong.
That's a different matter, isn't it? But some
she slapped him so hard.
Yeah, some kids just do not understand reason.
Wow. And actually, it didn't improve the situation. He just screamed all the more.
Well, he was hurt.
It wasn't like it was a technique that actually worked. I mean, she might have been at the end of her tether. She might have been putting up with it for weeks and weeks, and it was just, and she lost her rag. I don't know. But I just seen it, and I thought, you're so wrong doing that. You should not be doing that. That should be, and that is what is being outlawed. That sort of physical violence.
Didn't you intervene then?
No.
Why not?
because I didn't think it was appropriate.
Why? I
just didn't feel comfortable intervening.
You were condoning violence then?
No, I wasn't condoning it. I just didn't interfere.
Well,
because by the time there was loads of other people there, and I did actually interfere because I was one of the people that just went tut tut and shook my head, and there was a number of us did that, and I think there was a bit of peer pressure involved in that process.
That's big and brave, isn't it? I was in a situation like that, and what I did was because the kid was screaming his head off beside me in the flipping trolley,
So you kicked him,
and the wife or whatever it was slapping the child and that, and I didn't say anything to her and that, but I just looked at the little kid who was crying his eyes out and all this shit, and I said to the little kid, I said, "Oh dear, have we been a naughty boy?" And this little lad stopped crying immediately, looked up at me, big eyes, and went, "Yes." And I said, "Well, you shouldn't be a naughty boy, should you?" And he said, "No." And I said to him, "Well, say sorry to mummy," And he looked at his mother and he said, "Sorry," and that ended the situation.
Yeah, I've intervened any number of times in a situation like that, Mike.
Yeah, Brisbane girls say we have two great respectful children. Indeed, they do, and we didn't use physical punishment to discipline them. No, but this is all about.
I never used.
It's all about
punishment.
bringing them up correctly, isn't it?
Well, yes, but
a lot of families. Again, it goes back to parenting a lot of it, isn't it? They're a rod for their own back, aren't they? A lot of people.
Yeah. Sorry, but research has proven over and over again that if you're violent to your kid will be violent to his kids, and it's a family tradition, and it carries on. Violence begets violence.
I disagree. In some cases, yes, but not.
Well, in some cases, yes, of course. So why, you disagree in some cases?
Well, then you were beaten up, but you didn't do the same to your children.
No.
Well, then
I broke the chain.
Doesn't that then disprove what you're saying?
No, I broke the chain.
Well, there you are then. That answers itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well then. Your research is wrong then, isn't it?
No, it isn't wrong.
Terry's got it right. Terry said that he was sent to their master once for 6 of the best.
Yeah, he loved it.
And it was on his hand, but his reactions were quicker than his downstroke. So he got fed up and gave him 6 on the backside. Yeah, well. But I've received 6 on the backside before now. But when you're a little kid, you get shrewd. So you walk out of the classroom on your way to the headmaster's office, and you take your exercise book with you, and you tuck it down the back of your shorts.
Yeah, but I got wise to that.
And you bend over. Now the headmaster knows that you've got a book there. You know you've got a book there. Still hurts a bit. But nobody says anything, and you walk out, and you take your book out of your trousers and go back in the classroom. I mean, what's wrong with that, really?
Well, take those pictures down, Alan, for Christ's sake.
Well,
we didn't use a book; we used blotting paper.
Yeah, but it hasn't made any of us violent, has it?
No.
I'm making those points. Anyway, I will take it down.
Well,
I think you've made the point, Alan.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't really, but we'll move on because there's not a lot left on the programme this morning. But this is the thing that sort of really does get up my nose. Because, do you know, there's £100 million worth of compensation given after tracks damage hit 250,000 trains. Well, why should we have this? Why can't we run the railway system like they do in Switzerland and Germany and things like that?
I don't know.
And Portugal.
Well, only this week, Great Western trains were halted because the lines were buckling in the heat. I mean, in the heat. How hot has it been this week?
Well,
it's not been exceptionally hot, has it?
No, but rail lines buckle in the heat.
Yeah, but they don't seem to in hot countries.
They don't buckle here.
No, there you are, precisely.
They got unbuckling. They got unbuckling sections in them. I mean, it just it does happen.
Maybe it's something to do with the Scunthorpe Steelworks that they tried to close, which was the only manufacturer of rails anyway.
You've hit the nail on the head, sir.
The rail on the head.
Yeah, the nail on the head. The rail on the head, yeah. I mean, it's like when you go abroad. I mean, well, in Portugal and that, the sun beams down on the road, but the roads don't melt.
No, they do. They do.
They do.
I stepped out the car in southern France to photograph this lovely field of sunflowers, and I got stuck in the tar, and I could not get this tar off my shoe.
Funnily enough, they recently tarmacked a local road, which was a bypass, and it went over a hill, and they used completely the wrong compound, and this tarmac melted and actually started flying back down the hill. You could tell because the lines that they'd done started going all shaky and curly, and it was, and they had to take it all up. They just resurfaced it and relined it now, but it was frustrating, but funny at the same time.
Yeah, but why do you think this was? Because you think somebody trying to cut corners and
almost
make money.
certainly,
Yeah,
certainly.
Because they must have known that this was going to happen. Surely to goodness.
Yeah, I think someone used a cheap compound of asphalt and
real
they caught a cold on it.
Yeah.
But you know,
I covered tarmac your drive, sir.
Yeah.
We all seem to be now in this litigious society, like America, you know, in that, you know, if you buy a train ticket and the train doesn't run because of whatever the circumstances, you can claim compensation.
You've got nothing like this. You've got nothing like that over here at all. There's no small claims court.
No.
Getting something into court takes about 5 years.
Yeah.
So
it does.
We literally just roll with it. We have no choice.
Yeah, but it doesn't do you any harm, does it?
No.
You know, I mean, not like a good beating up.
We're getting all this from America, aren't we? You know, it starts in America.
We started in America, yes.
And it all comes over here, isn't it? And then everybody's got to sue for everything, aren't they? You know.
But isn't it worrying that we're bending over backwards all the time to do, you know, to follow the lead of other countries and all that sort of thing, and that, you know, we've got to, if you contract in with something and it doesn't work, like the railway, you buy a ticket and the train is cancelled, right? Well, the aeroplanes, you know, you buy a ticket to fly on an aeroplane and it can't fly for whatever reason, you know, but if it's delayed more than 3.5 minutes, you know, you're entitled to compensation and all this sort of rubbish, you know. I mean,
it's nonsense, isn't it? It really is.
It is nonsense, but we're putting up with it again. I mean, we talk about the woke brigade, but I mean, I think we're creating a woke brigade to suit ourselves, really.
Well, we're not creating. We're having to put up with what has been created, aren't we? I don't know. I just don't know which way we're headed. You know, we're certainly, you can't call it progress, can they?
Well, I mean, I've got a claim in at the moment because in this country, if you bought a car on HP or anything, you know, you can give a company your details and they'll claim money back for you for false representation because the company didn't tell you how much you were going to pay over the years.
Yeah.
Well, not so much that, but how much credit, you know, they were going to get, the company.
That's right, APR, whatever.
Yeah. But
yeah,
I mean,
who's that with, Mike? So I might look into that because I mean, the last car I bought, God, I don't know, on HP was
since 2007, I think, and you know,
I think I must have bought one on.
I bought my car on finance, and I knew exactly what I was paying, and it not a problem for me. So why should I go for compensation?
Well, why not?
Even if it's wrong.
Why not?
No, well, because I knew what I was paying. I knew exactly what I was paying.
Oh, but you're a bookkeeper, Chris.
Yeah, you see, you've got that advantage, Chris. You're an educated bean counter.
Who have you contacted, Mike?
What?
Who have you contacted?
My claims guys.
Yeah, have you got any response yet?
And they'll be taking about, if they get you any compo, it'll cost you about 30% of their fee.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's better to get
of your compo. I mean,
it's better to get 70% of something than 100% of nothing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I got 1,700 quid. I think it was 1,700 quid from the emissions claim.
Yeah,
through I think Slater and Walker. I think they were. Yeah,
Well, I mean, you got thousands from the PPI, didn't you?
Good God. Yeah, well, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Well, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I've got something like, I don't know, 20 odd grand, I think, in the end of various credit cards. Because they were charging you for what it was. They were charging for almost mandatory signing you into insurance agreements if you defaulted or whatever. But you couldn't claim it anyway because you're self-employed.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
they knew that, and I was conned. And the biggest ones are the banks, of course.
Yeah, I've just been doing a bit of research into train tracks in Portugal, as it happens, and they do buckle in Portugal. They are built to a slightly different standard because they've got slightly different tolerances. But in extreme hot weather in Portugal, the tracks can buckle. So it's not like.
Well, I'll take your word for that on your research, Alan, because I can't dispute it, but I never hear of it.
But it's a lot hotter in over more days in Portugal than it is here.
Well, I've just literally did a search on it, and it says train tracks can buckle in hot weather. Do steel rails because expansion in the heat. In hot countries they take extra protections, but even in extreme hot weather in Portugal they can buckle as well because the steel's still steel.
Yeah, they're continuous rails, aren't they? The welded tracks, aren't they? Whereas in the old days they had a gap between with a plate, didn't they? That joined an expansion plate.
Yeah, and that's why you got the chickly chomp.
And it's the same. Yeah, it's the same on bridges, isn't it?
How's it going?
Yeah, chickly chomp.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Darren says that the train tickets are so expensive in the United Kingdom, you're less likely to buy them if the train doesn't run.
Yeah.
Companies offer it as part of their terms and conditions. No one will be taking it to court. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Getting compensation because a train's late. I mean, is that reasonable? I wanted compensation because I missed my aeroplane because they cancelled it. They cancelled the damn aeroplane. EasyJet. They just said sorry, that plane's cancelled. And I tried to get compensation on it. You try and get compensation out of EasyJet for anything.
You know why it was? Because nobody wanted to fly because they knew Alan Mallion was on board.
Well, yeah, there was that. Clearly, they were intimidated by my presence.
Ryanair is even harder to get compensation out of.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryanair, well, it's a law unto itself. But you see, they get away with it because they're registered in Ireland, not in the UK.
They still have European laws to apply.
True.
I
wouldn't go on that company if they gave me free tickets.
I had been once to Dublin and back, but I wouldn't do it again.
I must admit, I've never flown with them. I've heard some horrendous stories.
Yeah,
but to be fair, I also hear some good stories from them, and a lot of my friends do use them.
Yeah, I'll use anybody because I think they're all good and they all make mistakes, and I don't think there's any particularly bad ones. And you know what you're getting if you go to Ryanair. You know what you're getting. You're saving yourself some money, but you have to pay 10 pence to use the toilet.
Yeah, but they're all doing the same thing now, aren't they?
Well,
yeah, they are.
Terry's off. Bye, Terry. Have a nice weekend.
Oh, bye, Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
I just remember the days when you got on a plane and all the drinks were courteous. They're all free. And you had food that was free, and it was all included in the price of the ticket, and courteous people serving you. It has changed.
It has changed.
That's because you're going first class.
Well, that's it. And we're going first class.
Even first class, they cut down on the meals because people are not eating them.
Because, gentlemen, the time has beaten us yet again on another edition of the Grumpies On Spec. But if you missed any of it, then you can join it on YouTube, because YouTube is actually going to, it records it. You can listen to YouTube. My thanks, gentlemen, for your contributions this morning to Brisbane Gal and Darren as well. And to you three gentlemen, we will see you next week. So take care, be good, and enjoy your bank holiday weekend.
Hello, I'm Mike Barry, and every weekday morning between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, I'm joined by my cockle Ken, his girlfriend Canetta, a very young cockle called Clive, and Barney the puppy dog. Well, we bring you an hour of madness and some good music. So why not join me for breakfast on Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio.
Hey, my name's Bailey, And you can come see me on the Silent Monkey radio show on Spectrum On Air, Fridays 11 p.m. until midnight, where we play all sorts of alternative music, be it rock, emo, metal, we love it all. That's the Silent Monkey radio show.